All right, now we're doing MDN web docs guides, getting started with the web JavaScript basics. Strap in because this is definitely going to be the longest video I've made so far, and I'm pretty sure this is also the most important so far because this can tie directly into the Code Wars videos, and this is going to help us in actual programming for when we go to like Python and whatever. But anyway, let's get to it. So JavaScript is a programming language that adds interactivity to our websites. This happens in games, in the behavior of responses when buttons are pressed, or with data entry on forms. Also with dynamic styling, with animation, etc. This article is going to help us get started with JavaScript and further our understanding of what's possible. All right. So what is JavaScript? JavaScript is a powerful programming language that can add interactivity to our websites. It was invented by Brendan Eich. This guy's got quite a history. So JavaScript is versatile and beginner-friendly. With more experience, we'll be able to create games, animated 2D and 3D graphics, comprehensive database-driven apps, and much more. All right, so JavaScript itself is relatively compact, yet very flexible. Developers have written a variety of tools on top of the core JavaScript language, unlocking a vast amount of functionality with minimum effort. These include browser application programming interfaces, APIs, built into web browsers, providing functionality such as dynamically creating HTML and setting CSS styles, collecting and manipulating a video stream from a user's webcam, or generating 3D graphics and audio samples, all right? There's also third-party APIs that allow developers to incorporate functionality in sites from other content providers such as Twitter or Facebook, all right? And also some third-party frameworks and libraries that we can apply to HTML to accelerate the work of building sites and applications. We'll probably get into all this at some point once we become much more big time. You know, remember, this is just the beginning. We don't need to know most of the detail stuff they're saying. So it's outside the scope of this article as a light introduction to JavaScript to present the details of how the core JavaScript language is different from the tools listed above. All right, but we can learn more in MDN's JavaScript learning area, which we will. Once we get down to this one right here, we'll know a whole lot more about it. As well as in other parts of MDN. The section below introduces some aspects of the core language and offers an opportunity to play with a few browser API features too. Have fun, we might. So now we're going to do a classic Hello World example. So JavaScript is one of the most popular modern web technologies. As our JavaScript skills grow, our website will enter a new dimension of power and creativity. Sure will. However, getting comfortable with JavaScript is much more challenging than getting comfortable with HTML and CSS. Good thing I've got way over 700 Code Wars videos. If you start at the 8Q and work your way down to, I mean, right now we're doing 6Q over there, but you just work on those. Look, sorry for this aside, but anyway, we'll get into the Code Wars much later. How about that? So we may have to start small and progress gradually. So to begin, let's examine how to add JavaScript to our page for creating a Hello World example. Hello World is the standard for introductory programming examples, totally. So here's a warning. If we haven't been following along with the rest of the course, here's some example code. We don't need that because we've got it right in here. All right. Do we have that open? Yeah, and we've got this open right over here too. So here's the this stuff. Anyway, let's get back to it. Come on. We got to crank this out. So we're going to go to the test site and create a new folder called scripts. We already got that made. Within the scripts folder, we're going to create a new text document called main.js and save it. All right, so we're not going to do it that way because we already have our stuff made. So we're going to come over here into VS Code, go to the file, we'll say new file, and then we'll call it main.js, enter. And then instead of in here in this styles thing, we'll go up one. And then we'll go inside scripts and create the file there. All right, so now we got this main.js and we're ready to rock. So let's come over here. I wonder what it's loading. Anyway, whatever, it doesn't matter. So we did that. Step 2, in the index.html file, we're going to enter this code on a new line just before the closing body tag. All right, so we'll take this like this. Script, the source is scripts main.js, and then done script, or whatever we want to call it. So we're going to come over here to the index.html to the end of body. So here's body right here. And it'll tell us why at the end it's supposed to be at the end instead of the beginning. It took me, trust me, it took me like 6 hours to rehearse for this. I mean, this thing, I'm not going to go into the details, but let's do a Control S for saving and come back over here, all right? So we did that, now we're on 3. So this is going to be doing the same job as the link element, yeah, this thing right here, for the CSS. It applies the JavaScript to the page so it can have an effect on the HTML along with the CSS or anything else on the page, all right? So we're going to add this code to the main.js file to get this hello world action happening. So let's just copy this. We'll go over what it means in just a second, probably like right here. But right now, let's go back over to the main.js. We copied it. We copied this via this little clipboard. And we're going to come over here and click Control V right there. Do a Control S to save it. And then we'll come back over here. So we make sure it's saved, and then we're going to load the HTML. Okay, so we'll come over here to the test site folder and start up index.html. And we've got hello world right there, like some cool guys, all right? Nothing else going on right now, but you see this changed. And we didn't do anything to the HTML. We didn't do anything to the CSS. It's just straight JavaScript made that happen. So let's come on over here. Or not here, here, and here. How about that? All right, so now we've got that going on. And here's the little note about why we put it at the end. So the reason the instructions above placed the script element near the bottom of the HTML file is that the browser reads code in the order it appears in the file. So if the JavaScript loads first and it is supposed to affect the HTML that hasn't loaded yet, there could be problems. Like it would do the hello world, but then it would see the title or the H1 and it would change it back to this or something. I don't know what it would do, but I'm imagining that's what would happen. So placing JavaScript near the bottom of an HTML page is one way to accommodate this dependency. And to learn more about the alternative approaches, we can see this right here. We'll see that later probably. So now we're here. What happened? So the heading text changed to hello world using JavaScript. We did this by using a function called query selector, all right? So this thing right here. All right, and you see query selector not only includes this, but it also includes these parentheses right here. And then this is the little, this is the argument that we put inside there. We'll go over arguments in just a second if you don't know about those. Okay, to grab the reference of our heading. So the query selector grabbed the reference to our heading, and then we stored it in a variable called myHeading. This my heading right here, this my heading right here. So this is stored in this, and we'll go over how that went in just a second also. So this is similar to what we did using CSS selectors. When we want to do something to an element, we first need to select it, all right? So following that, the code is sets the value of my heading's variable text content. Hold on a second. Following that, the code set the value of the myHeading variable's text content property, which represents the content of the heading, to hello world. So let's look at that. So yeah, this myHeading.text content now equals hello world. So whatever it was in the H1, now it equals hello world. So we just changed that straight up. So let's come back down here. And that's cool right there. Here's the note. Both of the features we used in this exercise are part of the document object model, DOM API, which has the capability to manipulate documents. Okay, well, we'll have to go through that later, probably down in actual JavaScript land. So now we're going to say about the language basics crash course, all right? So to give us a better understanding of how JavaScript works, we're going to go over some of the core features of the language. It's worth noting that these features are common to all programming language. If we master these fundamentals, we'll have a head start on coding in other languages too, and that's why I'm doing this, because I want to get into Python, C++, and all the good stuff, so that you know, I'm not going to tell you my goals, but blah blah blah. Anyway, so warning: in this article, we're going to try entering the example code lines into our JavaScript console to see what happens. For more details on JavaScript consoles, we're going to see Discover Browser Development Tools. And we are going to go to this because we need this right now. All right, so right here, we can just skip all this, and all we need to really know here is press F12. So let me show you what happens when we press F12 on this one. You know, might as well do it on the practice one. If we press F12, shabam, now we've got this console over here, and you can hold down hold down Control while you're inside of this and do the mouse wheel and bring it out and in, whatever you want. But we've got the console right here, and it'll do stuff like this. We could do like 3 plus 4, 5, and it'll say 8. So it does all kinds of, it'll do stuff for it. It's like having an actual, anyway, whatever, it doesn't matter. Let's come over here. Let's get rid of this and come over here. So we get that by hitting F12, all right? So variables. Variables are containers that store values. We start by declaring a variable with the let keyword, followed by the name that we give to the variable. I mean, it can be let, it can be const, like it is on this one, how it says const, and it can also be var, but we'll go over that when we get into the real guts of it. All right? We can start by declaring a variable with the let keyword. So let's do this. Let's take this, copy this, and just throw it into the thing right now. Let's just do a space in between that and say let my variables, all right? Let's come back over here, and a semicolon at the end of the line indicates where the statement ends, like we learned the other day. It's only required when we need to separate statements on a single line. However, some people believe it's good practice to have semicolons at the end of each statement. And we might as well. I mean, we're going to have to do it once we get into the older languages and stuff, so might as well get into practice now. There are other rules for when we should and shouldn't use semicolons. For more details, we can do this. And also, if you're saying, well, you don't do it on Code Wars, yeah, I don't. Sorry. and I won't either. Let's come back over here. So we can name a variable nearly anything except for like straight numbers. You know, you can't be like, oh, this variable is called 154. Nope, not happening. But there are some restrictions, and we can see this section about naming rules. We'll get to that much later. If we are unsure, we can check the variable name. I don't even know what that is to see if it's valid. JavaScript is case sensitive, so this means that this with the capital V doing this in camel case or straight lowercase, they're not the same, all right? If we have problems in our code, we gotta check. We should check the case first, or not first, but we should check the case at some point. After declaring a variable, we can give it a value. So let's say my variable equals Bob. Let's come on over here. My variable equals Bob. Bob, right there. Let's do a Control S, and now not Bob, but let's wrap it. We got to wrap Bob in quotation marks like that, single quotes. So now we've got that Control S. We got that saved. Also, you know what's cool? Let's do this. Let's say my text content is now. Let's call this variable my variable. My bad. My variable is right here. And let's do a Control S, and let's come over here, and let's open up. No, come on, man. Come on. Don't make me look like an idiot on my own video. My variable. Oh, yeah, this has to be at the bottom. Because remember, it's like, does it in order or whatever. So let's bring this const down here. Sorry for taking a minute of your time. So now let's do like this. Let's do a Control S. And now let's open it up again. And look, we got Bob right there. Okay, cool. So nice little example of how that would work. So we've got the my variable is Bob right here. And we can also do both these operations on the same line. So let my variable Bob. So basically this wanted us to do like something like this. Have my variable first like this. And then come down here and say my variable now equals string Bob, like that. And Control S, and we can see it does the same thing. All right. But yeah, if we want, we can just do it on the same line. We can get rid of this too. We can just do it on the same line. Let my variable equal Bob, like that, like we did in the first place. So we retrieve the value by calling the variable name. All right, and that's not really going to work on our thing right now because whatever reason. But after assigning a value to a variable, we can also change it later in the code. So we can also put Steve in there. So let's come over here, and later in the code, let's say right after it, we can just say my variable now equals Esteve. All right, let's put this semicolon, Control S, come open it up. Esteve. All right, so you can see it changes it to Steve after we do that. All right, so note that variables may hold values that have different data types, and now we're on that part. So these are strings right here, and strings are sequences of text known as strings, okay? To signify that the value is a string, we enclose it in either single or double quotes, all right? We've also got numbers, which is a number, and numbers don't have quotes around them. So like if we did let my variable equal 10, let's come on over here. Another example, I'm sure you're getting it by now, but just in case, variable equals 10. So we changed it to that. Control S, come over here, open it up. And don't bother following along with this. This is all straight example stuff. We're going to be deleting that whole thing and putting a new thing in like however many minutes. So you see right here, it did turn to 10 right there. So we got Boolean, and this is a true-false value. The words true and false are special keywords that don't need quotation marks. So we could do something like let variable equal true. And hopefully you get it. We don't need to see an example of that. An array is a structure that allows us to store multiple values in a single reference. So we could do like we could say let my variable equal, and you see in these brackets, we have 1, Bob, Steve, 10. So we will go through that one. Let me show you. So let's change it to my variable, where did it go? Now equals brackets right there. That's how we make an array. 1, Bob, Steve, 0. Doesn't really matter. And then let's get this right here, and let's do a Control S, and let's open it up again and see what it looks like. I don't even know what it's going to look like. Okay, so we've got this, and it looks stupid, but whatever. If we want it, but let's go back here. Pardon me. Let's go back here. If we want to access the something directly in the array, we would say like something like my variable 0, my variable 1, etc. Let me show you about that. So now let's do another my variable. My variable now equals let's copy this and paste it right here, and then let's put after the bracket, let's put another set of brackets, and let's put 0. The first element, each one of these is called an element, and this is the 1 is in element 0. This is this is index 0, which is the first element, index 1, index 2, index 3. So if we say this 0, it's going to give us 1. So let me prove it by Control S, come over here, index. Now we got the 1 because it's accessing that 1. Let me just do another example real quick. If we want to do like Steve, we're going to put 2, 0, 1, 2. This is index 0, index 1, index 2. So we say index 2, Control S, open it up over here, and now it's got Steve. So that's how we access arrays. That's how we access the elements in the arrays. It calls them members, but everywhere else it's called an element. And we'll probably never see the word member for an array again. All right, and so object, this can be anything. So everything in JavaScript is an object and can be stored in a variable. So like right this, my variable, this is an object. My heading, this is an object. Everything in here is an object because it's an object-oriented programming language. I don't know how to explain that, but just everything's an object, and we'll learn more about objects and manipulations about objects and all that stuff later. All right. So let's come down here. So why do we need variables? Variables are necessary to do anything interesting in programming. If variables couldn't change, then we couldn't do anything dynamic, like personalize a greeting message, which we'll do later, or change an image displayed in an image gallery, which we also will do later in this lesson. So now we've got comments. Comments are snippets of text that can be added. It's just like commenting out the other thing. So the only difference in JavaScript is not only do we do these slash stars and then star slash, we can also do single lines of code with slash slash like this, all right? So if we wanted to come over here and comment out this one, all right, so now that one's gone, Control S, and we'll get the array all over again, like, come on now, like that. So we got this ridiculous looking thing again, all right? Let's come back over here, and so we learned about comments. We didn't really need to go too deep on that, trust. And so now we're on to operators. So an operator is a mathematical symbol that produces a result based on two values or variables. In the following table, we can see some of the simplest operators along with some examples to try in the JavaScript console. So addition will add two numbers together, or it will combine two strings. And the word a lot of people like to use for combining two strings is concatenate. So we'll see that one later. So let's try a plus. We're going to do this hello plus world. And there's a space after this O right here, just to let you see that. So let's come on over here and let's do another my variable. My variable equals, and then we'll say hello space, and then plus, and then right here, world like this. Control S, and let's see what it looks like when we open it up. And you see we've got hello space world, just like that. It concatenates them together and makes a thing. But if we want it to be like numbers, okay, well, let's go back to the thing. Let's go back over here. Subtraction, multiplication, division, these will do what you can expect. We can just open up the console for this. So over here, we can do like 9 minus 6, we'll get 3. 9 times 6, we'll get 54. 9 divided by 6, we'll get 1.5, and so on and so forth, right? Then we've also got this assignment. Press F12 to get rid of this thing again. Assignment, as we've seen already, this assigns a value to the variable. So the assignment is the equal sign. Let's zoom in on, whoa, first time doing that. Let's zoom in, and you see it's an equal sign right there. Oh man, where are we at? Well, that's good enough. And so like let my variable equal 3, and then my variable equals 4. This would turn out false because my variable equals 3. Let's go prove it. Let's not prove it. Anyway, trust me, this will be false because it's not 3, all right? Wait, was that the equals? Okay, never mind. Let's get here. So strict equality, that's what these 3 equal signs are right here, all right? And so this performs a test to see if two values are equal and of the same data type, and it returns true or false, Boolean, all right? So these 3, that's such, okay, can you deselect, guy? we don't want to see that. Never mind, I don't know what's going on. Oh, it's a link, that's why. All right, so these 3 equal signs, like I said before, my variable equals 3, my variable equals 4 will give us a false because it does not. It equals 3, all right? Hopefully that makes sense. So now we've got the not or does not equal operator. And it's basically this, the exclamation point, and this returns the logically opposite value of what it precedes. So it turns a true into false, etc. When it is used alongside the equality operator, the negation operator tells whether the two values are not equal. Pardon me. So like this one, If we put this in front of a true, it means false. This right here, if we said my variable, and then this right here with that 4 right here, it would be true because my variable does not equal 4. Hopefully that makes sense. So here's an example for not. The basic expression is true, but the comparison returns false because we negate it. So let my variable equal 3 right here. And then is this not true? My variable equals 3? No, it is true. So this is false. Hopefully that makes sense. It's a terrible example, but whatever. Does not equal gives basically the same result with different syntax. Here we're testing, is my variable not equal to 3? This returns false because my variable is equal to 3. Okay, so that's what I said. And then it's the same thing right here, okay? And we use these a very lot in the Code Wars videos, if you want to check those out. Like I said, if you're fresh, just start at the 8 Qs and go from there. If you don't know what 8Q means, you'll see. So there's a lot more operators to explore, but this is enough for now. We're going to see expressions and operators for a complete list, and we can do that later. So note, mixing data types can lead to some strange results when performing calculations. We're going to be careful that we are referring to our variables correctly and getting the results we expect. For example, if we do this with the 35 with quotes around it plus 25 into the console, let's do that. Let's say quotation mark 35 plus quotation mark 25. Like this, you see it's 3525 right there because it's a string. This is concatenating these together. But if we get rid of these right there, it's 60. But what if this is a string first? Okay, well in JavaScript, I'm pretty sure in JavaScript, if you add 25 to 35, like to a string 35, numbers take precedence. But in this console, the strings take precedence. Interesting. All right, so let's F12 that out of there. So we see basically how that works. So why don't we get the result we expected? Because the quote marks turn the numbers into strings, like I said. So we ended up concatenating strings rather than adding numbers. And then if we just add it at 35 plus 25 without the quotation marks, we'll get the total of the two numbers like we just saw. So now we've got these conditionals. And we're halfway done, not even halfway done, so go get a water if you want. Anyway, so conditionals. Conditionals are code structures used to test if an expression returns true or not. Let me say that one more time, and this is not for emphasis, this is because I messed up. Conditionals are code structures used to test if an expression returns true or not. A very common form of conditionals is the if-else statement. Very, very common. For example, let ice cream equal chocolate. If ice cream equals chocolate, alert us like this. If not, alert us like that. All right. Let's see if this will work if we put it in. No, we're just going to throw it straight up in the thingamajig over here, in this thing right here. So let's just drop this right at the bottom. Let's do a Control S, and let's see what it does when we open it. Look at this. The page says, yay, I love chocolate ice cream. Okay. And then it opens up to this. That's what JavaScript can do sometimes. But if it does not equal that, watch. If we put the not operator in front of this, and also watch, if you take away one of the things, it'll do the same thing. Watch. Let's do a Control S, and let's open her up again. Aw, but chocolate is my favorite. So that's what happens. We'll get, like I said, we'll get deeper into this much later. All right, so the expression inside the if is the test. So right here, if ice cream equals chocolate. This uses a strict equality operator as described above to compare the variable ice cream with the string chocolate to see if the two are equal. So if ice cream equals chocolate, which it does because let ice cream equal chocolate, that's what's going to happen. And if this comparison returns true, which it will in this case, the first block of code will run. So if it's true, run this. If it's not true, or else, run this. Hopefully that makes sense. If the comparison is not true, the second block of code after the else statement runs instead. And we'll get, like I keep saying, we'll get to that later in depth. So now we're going to look at functions, which are a way of packaging functionality that we wish to reuse. Excellent. It's possible to define a body of code as a function that executes when we call the function name in our code. So basically, this alert right here, you see these two. When you see something like a word with what am I trying to say here? When you see a word with parentheses next to them, it's almost always going to be a function. Like this query selector, if this h1 wasn't in there, it would be a straight function, and this thing inside is the argument. We'll get to that in a second. All right. So these functions, document.querySelector and alert, are built into the browser. Okay. So if we see something which looks like a variable name, but it's followed by parentheses, all right, it is likely a function. Just said that. Functions often take arguments, and that's what that's what the words inside the parentheses are. It's the bits of data that they need to do their job. Arguments go inside the parentheses, separated by commas, if there are more than one argument. If there is more than one argument. Yes, you're right, guys. For example, the alert function makes a pop-up box, like we just saw, appear inside the browser window, but we need to give it a string as an argument to tell the function what message to display, okay? And so that's what we did right here. Alert, put this message in, and alert this message in, all right? And we'll get way into detail on functions later because they're super important. So we can also define our own functions, which we will do a lot of. In the next example, we create a simple function which takes two numbers as arguments and multiplies them, right? So function multiply, and then the first number is, the first thing we put in is going to be the first argument, num1, comma, num2. And let result equal num1 times num2, return result. So let's take this and bring it on over here, right to the end of the thing. No, what was that? What did I just do? Oh, I hate this new view, and I don't know how to change it back. Well, that's what I get for pushing buttons. Oh, no, Control B did it. All right, awesome. Actually, you know what? We're not going to do that. Will we not do that? What can we do? I did this in the rehearsal, but I forgot what I did. It was so useful. Anyway, we'll just go over here, and you just trust me. I forgot how to do it. It's been a long day. Look what time it is. It's like 6:25. So where were we? We're going to try running this in the console and then test it with several arguments. Okay, so that's what we'll do. We'll do that. Let's press F12, throw this in there, press enter. Now it's undefined. Now let's say multiply, which is the first thing we got. And then let's put inside this argument list num1 and num2. So let's say num1 is 3 and num2 is 5, all right? And it should pump out 15. So 15 right there. We can say, how about 6 times 5? Now 30. 5 is now 99. It's going to give us 594, and so on and so forth. Hopefully you can see that better. Anyway, so that's done. Let's get rid of this with F12. And so we saw that works. So we could also do, what are these, decimals and whatever. So note, the return statement, this thing right here, tells the browser to return the result variable out of the function so it's available to use. This is necessary because variables defined inside functions are only available inside those functions. This is called variable scoping, and we'll read about variable scoping at some point. So now we're going to look at events, which I'm not very familiar with, but we'll go over it anyway. Real interactivity on a website requires event handlers. These are code structures that listen for activities in the browser. Listen in this case just means detect. It just detects activity in the browser and runs the code in response. The most obvious example is handling the click event, which is fired by the browser, fired by the browser when we click on something with our mouse. To demonstrate this, we'll enter the following code into the console and then click on the current web page. So let's get this, copy it. Let's make a new web page because I don't want to mess with the one we're using. Let's do an F12 right here. And I don't know what that is. Let's do that, press enter, and look. Ouch, stop poking me. So now it does this whenever we click it, all right? Awesome, nice little trick. So we've got that going on. And there are a number of ways to attach an event handler to an element. Here we select the HTML element right here. We select the HTML with this query selector. And then we call its add event listener function, this part right here. Right here, well, you know what it is. Passing in the name of the event to listen to the click or detect when we click. And the function is run when the event happens. So whatever function is in there, and the function is going to be this alert right here. Hopefully that's what it is. So the function we just passed into the add event listener here is called an anonymous function because it doesn't have a name. There's an alternative way of writing anonymous functions, which we call an arrow function right here. We do this a ton, 1.5 million times in the Code Wars videos, but it's basically the same thing, all right? As this function here and then alert, blah, blah, blah. All right, so, which we call and the arrow function uses the parentheses and then an equal sign and a left pointing arrow, whatever they called this thing earlier, instead of the function thing, instead of this function thing right here. Sorry, we got my neighbor decided to mow the lawn while I'm talking to y'all right now. Anyway, so document, query selector, HTML, add event listener, click, and then this, ouch, stop poking me. That's what we just did. Oh, it's the same thing. Okay, yeah, they're just proving that it's the same thing. Let's just drop it in there, in here, just to prove it. Ouch, quit poking me. Okay. Does it still do it if we do that? Yes, it does. Let's get rid of that. How do we get rid of it, though? How do we get rid of it? Oh, no. I know. Just reset. Okay, good. It's gone. Awesome. So here we go. Now we're going to do this supercharging our example website. So with this review of JavaScript basics completed, this stuff above, we're going to add some new features to our example site. So before going any further, we're going to delete all the contents in the main.js file. So come on over here. Like I said, don't even bother doing this because that's what we're going to do in the end. In the end, it didn't really matter. Okay. So we got that. And we deleted it. And the bit we added earlier during this, plus all the other stuff. And now we're going to save it too. I forgot to save. Control S. Let's come on back over here. And if we don't, the existing code will clash with the new code that we're about to add. Okay, cool. So now we're going to add an image changer. In this section, we will learn how to use JavaScript and DOM API features to alternate the display of one of two images. And this change will happen as a user clicks the displayed image, all right? So we're going to choose an image we want to feature on our example site, and then we're going to save it to the image folder. So let's go over here to the Google Images. Google Images. Click this. I want to get a blue book out of this one now. Blue book. I did that earlier. 300px. We want it roughly the same size. Okay, before I tell you that, let's go to the tools. Usage rights Creative Commons license. That way we can get a nice free one. And I'm pretty sure that because we've got that CSS that shrinks it down to 300, it's not going to matter what size it is. But I'm I'm going to take this one. You can take whatever you want. I'm going to take this one and save it. Save image as. I'm going to open it in a new tab and then save image. Save image as, and we'll go to the images. We're already here, and we'll just save it whatever it is. Okay, save it. There we go. We got it there. Don't need to look at it because we know we got it. All right, get rid of this. Get rid of this. We got something. All right, so we saved it. Rename it Firefox 2. We will not do that. We're going to add the following JS code to our main.js file. So let's copy it. And we're not doing this because that's not what we would do. And I'm not changing it to Firefox because it's not a Firefox picture. So let's add it over here, like thus. And let's change these to what we got. So we're going to change this Firefox 2 PNG to what it is, what it's called over here in the images. So we're going to change this one. Let's do a right click, rename, do a Control A to select it all, Control C to copy it, come back over here, change this Firefox 2 to that right there. And then we're also going to have to change this one and this one to the red book. All right, so let's come over here to this, right click, rename, Control A to select all, Control C to copy it, come over here. We're going to get this right here and Control V, and then we're going to Control V this one right here. No. Just the Firefox part. Sorry. I hope you didn't push fast forward like right after I did that. All right, so throw that in there. If we don't do this, it ain't going to work. Trust me. So you better do this. So Control S, save it. Now we got this thing going on. Let's open it up over here. Go up one and open up the index.html and watch this. Click the book. It changes. Look at us. Look at that. Oh my goodness. What are we gonna do? We're moving on. We're moving on up in this computer programming world. All right. So now we got some actual action going on. So we did that. We saved it. And there we go. Yeah, make sure to change these images, these image names, because we're not going after these ones. All right. So we're going to explain what happens right now. So we stored a reference to our image element in my image. So here's this const my source equals my image get attribute source. And if my source equals this, okay, so we'll go over that in a second. Hold on. The code uses the conditional to check if the source value is equal to the path of the original image. So if it is, so right here, if source equals this, which is the red book. Remember, this isn't this one. It's the red book. If it equals red book, we're going to change it to this. We're going to set the attributes of the source to the blue book. But if it isn't this, if we already did change it, it'll set it back to the red book. Hopefully that makes sense. So right here, let's just go over this just to reiterate. If it is, the code changes the source value to the path of the second image, forcing the other image to be loaded inside the image element. And if it isn't, meaning it must already have changed, the source value swaps back to the original image path to the original state. Now look, if you're confused about this, which I mean, look, that's a whole lot of words and it don't make a lot of sense. Trust me, I know. Just look at it real carefully. Where this is the image get attribute, right? If this right now equals the red one, change it to the blue one. If it doesn't equal the red one, change it to the red one. Because if it doesn't equal the red one, it's got to be the blue one, right? Right. Hopefully that makes sense. So let's just move on, and we'll understand all this by the time we get to the actual JavaScript stuff, or when we get into the JavaScript stuff. So now let's go to adding a personalized welcome message. Next, we're going to change the page title to a personalized welcome message when the user first visits the site. This welcome message will persist. Should the user leave the site and return later, we will save it. We will save the message using the web storage API. Okay, I don't know really what that means, but we'll figure it out later. We will also include an option to change the user and therefore the welcome message. And you'll see what all this is in just a second, all right? in index.html, we're going to add the following line just before the script element. So we're going to get this, copy it, come over to the VS Code, go over to the index.html, and right after the script, does it say after or before? Just before the script. Okay, so just before the script. So right here, let's press enter and Control V and backspace to get it back up there. And so now we've got this button change user button, Control S, and now we've got something going on over there. We'll check it out when we're real set up. So now in the main.js, we're going to place the following code at the bottom of the file exactly as it's written. And this takes reference to the new button and the heading, storing each inside variables, right? So copy this and come over here, go into the main.js right at the bottom to this line 11 and Control V to paste it. Now we've got this stuff, let's Control S to save it. All right, let's come back over here. Now we're going to add the following function to set a personalized greeting. And this won't do anything yet, but it will change soon. So let's get this, copy it, and we're going to come over here and we're going to paste this right here, okay? So now we've got this function. The thing is, it's going to say something like Mozilla is cool, which I don't believe that's true. So we're going to say something like this. Do you got the red book blues? Comma, and then it'll say my name, and then after my name we'll just say question mark. And this right here is a template literal, and you go check out the Code Wars. I got plenty of videos that go over this thing right here. So let's do a Control S to save it, and let's come over here. And now the set username function, this thing right here, contains a prompt function which displays a dialog box similar to the alert. So prompt, please enter our name. Please enter your name, all right? And this prompt function does more than alert, asking the user to enter data and storing it in a variable after the user clicks OK. In this case, we are asking the user to enter a name, all right? So we're going to say, please enter your name, like the prompt says, all right? Next, the code calls on an API local storage, this thing right here, which allows us to store data in the browser and retrieve it later. And then we're going to use local storage's set items, and I'm just going to put this here so I remember where we're at. This set item thing right here, function to create and store a data item called name, all right? Setting its value to the myname variable, which contains the user's entry for the name. That's a lot of words, guys. Finally, we're going to set the text content of the heading to a string plus the user's newly stored name. So finally, we're going to say not Mozilla cool, but whatever I just put in there, and then the name and then the question mark. All right. So now we're going to add the following condition block. We could call this initialization code as it structures the app when it first loads. Okay, whatever that means. So let's take this and let's bring it over here, and we're going to slap this right at the end of the thing right here on line 18. V like that, Control S, and now this thing's saved again. And let's come back over here. All right, and this first line of the block. The first line of this block uses the negation operator, logical not represented by the thing. So if this doesn't exist, if there is no name in the local storage, we're going to do the set username. We're going to do this function that we just made, all right? If not, let's just come down here. Okay, here. If not, the set username function runs to create it. But if it does exist, if it does exist, we're going to do this stuff right here. So if it exists, that is the user set a username during the previous visit. So if they already put a name in, we're going to retrieve the stored name using getItem. All right, so const store name local storage.getItem will have the name that we already put in there. Where are we? To getItem, and set the text content of the heading to a string plus the user's name as we did inside set username. So it'll just put whoever's name in there. And let's go change this Mozilla is cool one more time. I think that's what we got to do. Let's change this. Mozilla is cool one more time to this. Let's copy this. No, let's copy it up to this $sign. Get rid of this Mozilla is cool all the way up to this $sign, and then after this stored name, we'll put the question mark like that. All right, and that should take care of business. Let's Control S to save it. And now let's come back over here. So we did that, and now we're going to put this on-click event handler below the button. Excuse me, below this thing on the button. Put this on-click event handler below on the button. Okay, so we'll just add this after this stuff. So when clicked, set username runs. This allows a user to enter a different name by pressing the button. So let's copy this, come over here, line 24, Control V on that, Control S to save it again. Hopefully this is all we got to do right now to click it. So let's open it up right here, index.html, null. Oh, change username. Change username. This page says, please enter your name. Codeman S. Okay. Do you got the red book blues, Codeman S? What did it say before though? Oh, it said null. Okay, cool. So yeah, do we got it? I don't know. Anyway, little fun there. So now we've got this. So as we saw before, it had the username null. So let's run it again. Where was it? Let's run it again. Let's do the change name and let's say okay. No. Let's do the change name again and do cancel. And so it's got this null right here. So let's come here, not here. Come here and come here. All right. So when we run the example and get the dialog box that prompts us to enter our username, we're going to try pressing the cancel button, which we just did. And we should end up with a title that reads what we got, null, common null. And we did get that. This happens because when we cancel the prompt, the value is set as null. And null is a special value in JavaScript that refers to the absence of a value. All right. We'll get into all that later, believe it or not. So also we'll try clicking OK without entering a name. So let's come over here. Let's do the change user and just say OK. And you see it just has the space right there because there's nothing in there. All right, so let's come back over here. And we should end up with a title that reads whatever comma for fairly obvious reasons, okay? Because there's nothing in there. So to avoid these problems, we could check that the user hasn't entered a blank name. So we'll update the set username function to this right here. So let's copy this, all right? Bring it over here. We're gonna have to change, we're gonna go from this here. If we, if you click the curly braces, it'll highlight the curly brace that this one's related to. So let's come down to this one right here and go all the way to function right there and do a Control V. And then let's do this. You got the red book blues thing right here. Control C that, throw it in right here. Right there. And then put the question mark again like that. All right, and Control S. So now let's open it again. All right. So now it forces us. Okay. Oh no, what? Why not? Cancel. Why not? Okay. Codemans. Okay. You got the red book blues, Codemans. Do I? I got my eyes closed. Which one is it going to stop on? I wasn't counting. Oh, I do not. I got a blue book. Anyway, so let's come back over to do that again. Let's come back over here. Let's get rid of this one and read this. So in human language, this means if my name has no value. So if my name right here, so if my name has no value with the not operator, we're going to do the set username, or else we're going to set item name to my name and throw it in there. All right. So if my name has no value, we'll run the set username again from the start. If it does have a value, so if we did put something in before, then it'll store the value in local storage and set it as the headings text. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. But you saw what happens. Oh, finally. So now we're at the conclusion of this very important video. Very important, and no sarcasm. I'm telling you what I feel. So if we followed all the instructions in the article, we should end up with a page that looks something like the image below. Yeah, right, like that, except for much less lame. Patting yourself on the back, Moozle. Okay. So yeah, we do have this right here, and it is looking pretty snaz in my opinion. I think it's pretty good for a starter block. Okay, no, it's good. No, cancel. No, okay. Codemans. Boom. Same thing. Let's change it to something else. Something else. Okay. Something else? No, I want to see. We're doing some subliminal messaging. Codeman. S. All right, cool. So there we go. So if we get stuck, we can compare the work with the finished example code on GitHub. I do suggest you do this because, I mean, if you get at me like 5 months from now, bro, I am not going to know what you're talking about. I'm going to have to go through this 45-minute video to answer your question. So just come check out this stuff. In fact, I'll even zoom in here just to hook you up, okay? If this page is not here for some reason, check it. It's right here. Pause it. Check it out. Okay, come back. We're good. I'm not saying don't ask me questions. I'm just saying 5 months from now, come on, I'm not going to remember this. So we have just scratched the surface of JavaScript. If we enjoyed playing or doing this and wish to go forward, we'll take advantage of the resources listed below. Yeah, we'll do this stuff, trust, but not today. Today we're hitting next, and tomorrow we're going to be doing publishing our website, and we'll see you next time.